Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about Despicable Me 4. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. So, Despicable Me. Let's talk about this series. This all started back in 2010. Yep, Despicable Me is almost 15 years old. Hard to believe, right? Yeah, when this movie first came out in 2010, I imagine expectations were pretty muted for several reasons. Because, the main reason being like this was Illumination Entertainment's like first movie, so you don't have strong IP, you don't have brand name, you have nothing. You kind of just like going to the box office battlefield and hoping for the best by releasing those. And another minor problem was that family audiences by the time this released they were already kind of spent that summer. I mean, you had Shrek 4 come out, then you had Toy Story 3, like that monster that came out, made a ton of cash. So you think family audiences will be like done until like the holidays or something, but no. No, and like all the doubts, people saying like, "Oh, this new IP from like this no-name animation studio, oh, it's not gonna go anywhere." Well, they were very wrong because Despicable Me was one of the biggest hits of 2010, up with 56 million, made over 250 million domestically, over 500 million worldwide, which is a lot for a new IP. I mean, its domestic total is better than How to Train Your Dragon and Shrek 4, which is crazy, especially for Shrek 4, because that was like the fourth entry in the series, right? That had like three prior movies. Like Shrek was Shrek. It was bigger than anything. And then you got Despicable Me with Gru and the Minions. It did better than it in the States. Like that says a lot. So, with a success like Despicable Me, do you just stop right here and there? Is it just a one and done? Of course not. So, what do you do with a successful movie? You slap a 2 next to it, and there you go, Despicable Me 2, which came out in 2013. And because of the success of the first movie, it was able to use that as fuel. And as a result, it did a whole lot better than the first movie, up with 84 million, and that was like on a Wednesday. Its 5 day total was 143 million, up with 35 million on a Wednesday, which is a lot, a whole lot. So yeah, it just dominated that Fourth of July weekend in 2013, and it ended up making 368 million domestically, almost a billion worldwide. Enormous success. So what do? You make more, but you don't make a Despicable Me 3, not yet. You make a spin-off about the Minions, those yellow Tic Tac looking things. That's what you do. Because all the Despicable Me movies, their success is definitely fueled by the Minions and their antics because of one, like how commercial the Minions are in terms of like their design and everything. But also the fact that what I've learned is that when it comes to comedy, like slapstick comedy, like that translates a whole lot better than say like jokes that are like I guess like American specific. Like if you make like a joke about like a football team in the States, like we in the States will get that, but no one else outside the country will. And the same applies to like stuff from like other countries not translating well over here. But slapstick, that's universal, and anyone can get that. So I've heard that's like a big reason why these movies do as well as they do like overseas. But anywho, so Minions came out in 2015, and you think like, as a spin-off, you think okay, this doesn't really matter that much. No one's really going to pay much attention to it because it's not like a core entry. No, that wasn't the case. Minions opened with 115 million domestically, which at the time was the second biggest ever for an animated movie. The only one that opened bigger was Shrek the Third, although the record was broken like in 2016 with Finding Dory. But yeah, 115 million opening, 336 million domestically, 1.1 billion worldwide. This is the biggest movie of the series still worldwide. which is a hell of an achievement for a spinoff. But yeah, Minions did phenomenal, did incredible. And so now we move on to Despicable Me 3. And domestically, it didn't do quite as well as the previous two movies. There was a bit of a drop off there. Opened with 72 million, made 264 million domestically, which is far from bad. Okay, it's not a bad number. It still like destroys all the other 2017 animated movies financially, but that number, that drop off was a bit of a cause for concern, but it still made $1 billion, so it wasn't that much of a cause of concern. But it was something that was interesting. Made you think, okay, maybe Despicable Me might be over. Maybe people might be getting a wee bit tired of it. And then we move on to Minions 2 because there had to be a Minions 2, obviously. Minions Rise of Gru in 2022. This was supposed to come out in 2020, as you all probably know. And obviously, certain circumstances prevented that from happening, COVID. Took 2 whole years. Like they took their time like delaying this. They wanted to make sure this came out at a time where people were actually going to the theater. And that's what they did. And with Minions Rise of Gru, you're thinking, okay, people have to be done with these movies. Like the Minions, they're overexposed. They're on everything, like commercials, products, boomer Facebook memes. They're everywhere. People have to be sick of these things. People have to be done with this franchise. No, for no, this series, it has to live on because it opened with 107 million, made 370 million domestically, which is the biggest out of all these movies. Although interestingly, worldwide it only made 939 million, which is the second worst out of all these movies. The fact that the second worst movie in a franchise can still make almost $1 billion is crazy. That shows you how big this franchise really is, how successful it is. I mean, Marvel, they can't say that. They can't say that at all. So, and now here we are with Despicable Me 4. So, as you can clearly see, Despicable Me movies, they make bank. Serious bank. Like when one of these movies comes out, like everyone just rushes to see it. And judging by like the early numbers I've seen for Despicable Me 4, it seems like that's going to be the case again. So, yeah, brand name recognition and the enormous success of the previous movies, that's obviously a pro. Like, come on now. So that's pro number one. Pro number two, Illumination Entertainment. Let's talk about them. So yeah, this all like Illumination Entertainment, they would not be as big as they are if it wasn't for Despicable Me. Like, Despicable Me to Illumination is what Toy Story is to Pixar. Like, without that first movie doing well, they wouldn't be standing at all. But Illumination, they've made more than just Despicable Me movies. They've made others. There's Hop, which is their worst performing one, even though it still did okay at the end of the day. It's kind of like the redheaded stepchild of their catalog because it was like a live action movie with some animated elements in it. Everything else is just pure animation. They got the Lorax in 2012, which did quite all right. You got Super Life of Pets, which did great for itself, especially for a new IP, an original flick. Although some people be like, well, it's not really original. It's ripping off Toy Story. So kind of original with an asterisk beside it. But still, did fantastic in summer 2016. And then later that year, you had Sing, which also did very well for itself. Then you had The Grinch in 2018, that did very well. And then Secret Life of Pets 2. Okay, this one's a little weird because in isolation, it did fine. Like 446 million, budget of 80 million. It's pretty good. But compared to the first movie, it did terrible. It dropped off by like half. And domestically, it was more than half. It was rough. So you can label that as a successful disappointment. And then Sing 2, yes, it did worse than the first movie. Made 162 million compared to the original's 270 and 400 compared to the original 600, but that had to deal with COVID circumstances, that had to deal with a marketplace where things were really trying to come back. Like the family movie had yet to really come back in a serious way, and Sing 2 was the first to really do that until you had like Sonic 2 and then Bad Guys, and then really Minions 2, that really brought the family audience back like in full force. So, yeah, but Sing 2, I'm going to give that a pass financially. And then last year, yeah, the Mario movie. Like, goddamn, this thing did crazy last year. I remember like look at the box office numbers like as they happen like day by day. I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what is happening? Because I opened with like 31 million on a Wednesday, then 26 million, then 54, and 56, 34. Made over 200 million in 5 days. That is mental for any movie, especially a movie like this. So I'm open with like 146 million on the 3 day weekend, like 92 million second weekend, 59 million third, 40 million for the fourth. Like these are crazy numbers. It ended up making 574 million domestically, over 1.3 billion worldwide. It was the biggest movie of the year, and most people assumed it would stay that way. But Barbie then swooped in later and took that spot. But still, insane performance by the Mario movie. They had Migration, which existed. It was their second worst performing movie, but that didn't mean it did bad. I mean, 127 million domestically, almost 300 million on a budget of 72 million. That's still pretty good at the end of the day. That's a whole lot better than Wish, which came out like earlier, like in November. Like that was a disaster. Migration did a whole lot better comparatively. So yeah, Illumination, even their worst performing movies are still hits at the end of the day. So yeah, Illumination and their box office power, like their box office might, that's a pro, obviously. So that's pro number two. Okay, pro number three. Um, Obviously, this weekend is 4th of July. Well, really, this week is 4th of July, but it's 4th of July weekend. It's the 4th of July space. Let's just call it that. 4th of July space on the calendar. And, historically, I mean, well, it depends on what movie comes out because 4th of July can be very good. It can really prop up a movie's like box office as long as the holiday doesn't happen on the weekend. As long as 4th of July doesn't happen on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, everything's fine. When it's on a weekend, it's a disaster. Because obviously people are going to be busy, celebrating, the holiday, having cookouts and barbecues and shit, and they're not going to be going to the movie theater. So business takes like a hard drop as a result. But when it's like during the week, it's fine. It's not a huge issue. And Despicable Me is obviously had the 4th of July frame like several times, 3 times with, oh, I hit the wrong one. Okay, Despicable Me with the second movie, Despicable Me 3, and Minions Rise of Gru. Obviously, all coming out on like different days, but still like the same like 4th of July time frame. Like Despicable Me 2, that's exactly like July 3rd. So pretty much the calendar matches, this year when it comes to like when this is releasing. So it's a perfect comparison. But yeah, that opened on a Wednesday, while Despicable Me 3 and Minions 2 they open on Fridays. But still, they took advantage of that holiday. So yeah, as you can see here, just like made almost like 100 million for like 5 days with Despicable Me 3, and then like Minions Rise of Gru made 140 million for like 5 days. So as you can see, these Despicable Me movies, they like opening in summer, they like opening in July. And so I guess Illumination's just like, why change that? It works out, so keep it. So yeah, that 4th of July holiday, like when a big movie releases, it can be like a boom for the box office. So Yeah, so I'm gonna label that as a pro. The 4th of July holiday, it's obviously gonna help this movie out. So that's pro number three. Pro number four, shoot. Because when it comes to direct competition, yes, there's Inside Out 2. Yes, that's been going crazy at the box office. But besides that, there's really nothing else. There's no family movies on the horizon until Harold and the Purple Crayon, I guess. So that's like a month away. So really, this only has to deal with Inside Out 2, and Inside Out 2 is like almost a month old. So that's kind of seen as old news, even though it's still doing great for itself. So yeah, you only really have to deal with like one movie. The rest is kind of like a non-issue. So yeah, lack of overall competition. You only have like one movie and that's it, and that movie's kind of been played out already. So I guess that's a pro. Well, I guess it's a pro and a con. Pro, lack of movie, lack of movies to really deal with, and a con is that obviously the Inside Out 2 is direct competition. But so it's kind of a middle ground thing. Let's see, another pro I can think of. I mean, word of mouth is good. Its audience scores are good. Its critic scores are not so good, but that doesn't really matter. Its audience score, its cinema score is an A, and its audience score, let me see, is an 88. So that's quite all right for itself. So yeah, audiences who are watching this like what they see, so that's obviously a pro. Um, any other pros? Any other serious pros? I can't think of any more pros really. I think I've gone over like all the main points. Yeah, I think I have. So okay, so cons. There's no real cons besides that it's a review. It's a critic score, which is not that good. It's a 54%, which is extremely mediocre. Well, 55% actually. Now that I reloaded the page, but it doesn't. That really doesn't matter. Okay, quality is not going to deter people from watching these movies. Okay, the success of Minions proves that without a shadow of a doubt. So the critic score is irrelevant in this case. It's not going to hurt the box office at all. So might as well not even mention the critic score. But I guess that low score, I guess, going to label that as a con, but it's not like it's going to matter at the end of the day. Uh, any other cons? I was thinking maybe like we're finally gonna get a bit of franchise fatigue, because franchise fatigue it hits all franchises, or at least a good amount of them. Even franchises that seem like untouchable, like the MCU. A lot of people thought, oh, well, they'll never die, they'll never, falter. And then look at last year, you had Ant-Man 3 flopping. Yet the Marvels. Don't even get me started about that movie's box office. But so yeah, so really all franchises that they're in danger of like people just losing interest over time. But Despicable Me is not one of those franchises, clearly. So yeah. Um so I don't want this you don't have to worry about franchise fatigue at all. So might as well not even mention that as a pro or a con or anything. But it is something I guess that I thought maybe could happen, but it's very much not happening. Um I can't think of any other cons. That's it. So opening weekend. Okay, so we gotta do 3 day and 5 day. The early numbers I've seen for Wednesday. This didn't have previews, by the way. So that's Wednesday gross. That's its raw gross. I've seen numbers like 28 million on Wednesday, which is a nice amount, definitely. And it seems like it's 5 day total. It's projected to hit like 120, and it's a 3 day total will be like around like 70 something. So, and not to mention, Thursday is 4th of July. There's gonna be a bit of a dip in box office, obviously, and then Friday it'll pick back up. Although maybe, okay. I'm trying to think of some, oh. I mean, 2013, that was a long time ago. Um, Maybe I could do 2019. Yeah, 2019. That might be a better comparison. Well, let's do Spider-Man No Way Home. No, Far From Home. My bad. Far From Home. That opened on a Tuesday, but still, it's the best I got. Okay, so Tuesday. Then you got Wednesday, and then you got that Thursday. Okay, so Thursday is not so bad. A lot of movies actually jumped on Thursday, and then Friday is a bit of a smaller jump. Okay, okay. I'm just trying to look at this to see how the box office like functions like during like this like specific day, like when like Fourth of July is like on a Thursday. So I guess I'm gonna go with like what everyone else is going with 70 million, 70 something million for the 3 days, say 70 to 75 million for 3 day, and then it's 5 day, it'll be like 120, maybe higher because the box office has been really popping off. We've seen a lot of movies overperform recently with like Bad Boys Ride or Die, Inside Out 2, Quiet Place Day 1, all really doing well. And this could definitely join them in like the as like being an overperformer. And I forgot to mention how the box office it went from being dreadful to fantastic in the span of like a few weeks. Because man, at the beginning of June, I was like 2024, it's over. It's yeah, there's no hope. And then suddenly everything's been like going right. Everything's been going just spectacular. And I'm just like, where has this been all year? Like seriously. So yeah, I forgot to mention, very much improved marketplace. That's a big old pro. But so I'm gonna go 70, 75 million for 3 day, 5 day, 120 to 130. Final total. I'm not sure. Maybe 300 million. I think that may be a wee bit too high. I'm gonna say like 300 million. You know what? 275 to 300. I think I'm gonna go with that. I wouldn't be surprised if it hit higher though. And that's it. So that was Despicable Me 4. But that's not the only movie I'm talking about this week because this week is real wonky because we got some movies opening on 4th of July directly. Movies, I know about Sound of Hope. Kill, I've never heard of that movie in my life, so I don't know if I'm going to talk about that. And then on Friday, you got Maxine. I've always known Maxine was going to be on Friday. I know that. Kinds of Kindness, I'm not. I guess I'll talk about that too. So we got movies to discuss. So stay tuned for those, I guess. And yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos I made this year and any other years I've been doing this. Want to watch them, go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Despicable Me 4. I've talked about this one time only, and that was episode 109. I talked about it when it got its release date. Also talked about Migration when, well, originally that was supposed to be in summer of 2023. Then it got pushed to winter of 2023. And then you got other movies. A movie called Oh Hell No, which was supposed to have Ice Cube and Jack Black, but didn't happen because I'm pretty sure it was COVID related reasons. Like Ice Cube didn't want to be vaccinated, and you kind of had to be, and it was a whole shit show. And that movie just never saw the light of day. And then 65, a movie that I'm pretty sure you all forgot existed by this point, and I don't blame you. So yeah, so I've only talked about it 100 and the episode 109. But that series is now in the rearview mirror. It's been in the rearview mirror. So there's 250 episodes to choose from. So if you want to watch any of those episodes, you want to binge them all from beginning to end, highly encourage you to do that. So go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. My June recap will be next week, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.